Here we go. Week 13 results, predictions for the rest of the season, and playoff predictions. This is Fireknight 3 presenting to you my Week 14 NFL predictions. So without further ado, we only have 4 weeks left until we hit the playoffs. Let's get started. First of all, Arizona Cardinals, I believe will go 6-9-1. I was very surprised at them getting that win up against Washington. I guess I really discredited them. I can't say that I'm going to see that much improvement from that team up against Miami, New Orleans, or Seattle, especially Seattle. But, I mean, after that, I can't really say I can properly predict the team, but I'm still seeing them not making it to the playoffs. So all I can say is that. Next up, Baltimore Ravens, 8-8. Despite that very convincing win up against Miami, I still don't think they're going to be able to beat New England. I definitely see them beating Philadelphia, but not Pittsburgh or Cincinnati. And I'll definitely explain that when I get to Cincinnati, but at the meantime, I'm seeing them not make it to playoffs. They may be first place in the division at the moment, but I don't see them getting the title at the end. Buffalo Bills, 9-7, positive record, but Bills are not going to be able to hold on to anything because I don't see their defense improving anytime soon. And that's something that they definitely do need. Carolina Panthers, I'm seeing a 4-12. The team is just struggling, and after that very convincing loss to Seattle, I don't see them getting another win up against any of the opponents that they have coming up in the next 4 weeks. So Carolina is definitely not going back to the playoffs this season. Chicago Bears, 3-13, despite the very convincing win over San Francisco. It's San Francisco we're talking about. 49ers not looking at all good, nowhere near organized. They will not see another win this season. They are not going to the playoffs. Cincinnati Bengals, I see as 7-8-1. They definitely have a actually better looking team than I thought they would. I'm not sure if they're going to have AJ Green back, but after the destruction that they pulled on Philadelphia, no way Cleveland is going to be able to beat them, period, even after a bye. So I got to give Cleveland that, but not enough for a playoff. And as for the Cleveland Browns, it looks like we're going to have another repeat, or a repeat in history with an 0-16 team. Browns are going to need so much help. Hopefully, both free agency and draft can make this team a better looking, better working team all the way around. Next up, the Denver Broncos. I see them going 8-8, which will not be enough in order to make it into the playoffs. Now, if you notice, I have them losing to Tennessee. Why do I have them losing to Tennessee? Well, specifically because even though they beat the Jaguars, they didn't beat them convincingly. And yes, that was with Paxton Lynch. Trevor Siemian wasn't playing. But Tennessee is coming off their bye. And they have multiple weapons that can definitely hurt Denver's defense. Because where they're able to take down teams that are notorious for either runs or for going through the air, the Titans have so many weapons on offense that it'll be hard to read them every single time. Tennessee's only problem is that they tend to show up the games early, but they tend not to be able to finish it off. But Tennessee should still actually, as far as I'm concerned, be able to beat Denver, because Denver's offense is not going to be able to get past Tennessee's defense. Or at least that's what I'm predicting. Simeon's developing as a good quarterback, but he's definitely going to need more from this point on. So I'm just going to say I don't see them going to the playoffs, but if they beat Tennessee, I won't be surprised. Green Bay Packers, I see an 8-8. Not enough to make it into the playoffs this season. Simply put, Packers are not as strong as they were. Seattle's definitely going to be able to beat them because even though Seattle's going to be in the snow, something that they're not too used to, they're still going to be able to take down the Packers. And then Detroit's actually been pretty on fire. So I have to say I don't think Green Bay is making it to the playoffs this season. Texans, I'm going 7-9. I don't see them beating anybody except Jacksonville from this point on. And yes, I know the game between the Colts and the Jets was absolutely atrocious. And the Colts beat one of the more weaker teams out there. But on the same token, the Colts are not a team to actually play with that easily. They were able to beat Tennessee convincingly. They can beat Houston convincingly. So that's why I'm saying Texans will not be in the playoffs. Colts, 8-8. They'll be just right there, but not enough. They have what it takes in order to beat only teams in their division as far as the next 4 weeks go, but Minnesota and Oakland is just going to destroy them defensively. Jacksonville, I see only 2-14. I don't see them getting another win because their division is too tough for them to handle. Minnesota's pass rush is definitely too much for Jacksonville to handle. No way they can make it. Next up, Los Angeles Rams. I see a 5-11. I can only see them beating San Francisco, which actually makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. San Francisco got beat by a team that is plagued with injuries, using almost nothing but backups. So there's no way they're going to be able to beat Los Angeles. Los Angeles has another win, but definitely not enough to go into the playoffs. Minnesota Vikings, I will see a 9-7 in their future, which will put them above the Packers, but not enough to go into the playoffs. And they will not be able to beat Green Bay this time around. I'm sure of that. Let's see here. The New Orleans Saints, I will say 7-9. They have been displaying every single game the same problem that I've been mentioning about this team. They have one of the strongest offenses that any team in the NFL has, but they are super struggling in defense. As a matter of fact, I would suggest to the New Orleans Saints that during this postseason to look indefinitely to improving their defense. Because with that, they definitely would have a shot in the playoffs next season if that was improved. Next, the New York Jets. Is there really anything to say about this team? 3-13. They are 100% not locked in, organized well at all. I really had some hopes for this team, but I mean, it's just not going to happen. They have a quarterback issue. They have a line issue. Their defense is terrible. Jets need help all the way around. Next up, Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see them getting anything more than a 5-11. I don't see them getting any more wins, as a matter of fact. Yes, when it comes to divisional rivals in the NFC East, everybody steps their game up. But Philadelphia has a problem when it comes to connecting well. So when it comes to quarterback and receivers, when it comes to actually being able to do anything on the ground, and your defense isn't good, Philadelphia is not making it to the playoffs. Next up, San Diego Chargers. I'm saying 7-9. This is something that I would say to anybody if they were to ask me anything that would result in this answer. San Diego would be an amazing playoff team had they been in any other division. Like, literally any other division, they would be very competitive and hard to beat. The AFC West is super tough. If it hadn't been for that, I would have said that they would have made it. But not going to be the case. I don't see the Chargers making it to the playoffs. San Francisco 49ers, 2-14. I see them getting a win up against the Jets. But that's it. I don't see them getting a win anywhere else. 49ers needs help in so many different locations. It's not fun. Next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm saying 9-7. This is actually quite a surprise. This team has been the surpriser of everybody. And I mean, unless they manage to take down the Saints, I can't say that they're going to make it into the playoffs. I mean, I do have them predicting. I predict that they're going to beat the Saints the first time around. Second time around, I think the Saints are going to come back and kill them. But if they beat the Saints in a convincing way and lose and or win up against Dallas, but in a very competitive way, I can actually see them having a better shot. But I'm going to have to wait in order to really tell for Tampa Bay. Now for playoff teams. First up, Atlanta Falcons. This is the first time that I believe that despite their 11-5 record, despite being the number one team in the NFC South, I don't think they're going to make it past wild card. Why is that? Well, after the loss that they took to Kansas City, they definitely showed what their problem is. When their defense is not reliable, they start to depend way too much on the offense, and that's what's costing them these games. So, I do see them winning their next 4 games because they have a very easy schedule ahead of them. But up against the Redskins, I don't think they're going to be actually able to beat them because the Redskins' offense can hurt their defense pretty well, which is feasible already by a lot of teams. And then their offense may have a problem, especially with Josh Norman on the defensive cornerback position for Washington. That could hurt them if they don't know how to spread out the receivers well. So, that being the case, I'd say Atlanta makes it to the playoffs, but nothing further than wild card. Next up, Miami Dolphins, second best team in the AFC East with a 10-6 record. I believe they'll lose to Pittsburgh because they're the fact that the Ravens were able to shut the Dolphins down very, very well offensively, completely, it shows that if you have a good enough run defense and you can pressure Tannehill enough, their offense can't get going. From what I've been seeing, they have to come back in games in order to actually win them. If you can stomp them out the whole time through, they don't have any weapons. Pittsburgh can definitely do that, and they showed that up against the Giants. And although the Giants, in my opinion, are not as good as the Dolphins at the moment, I will say that Pittsburgh could definitely beat Miami because their offense is suffering a bit, and their defense is certainly not to our pedigree. So there's that. Next up, New York Giants, 10-6, second best team in the NFC East. I believe we will lose immediately to the Lions. And especially with the fact that JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul, is out for the rest of the season due to surgery. I mean, our defense is going to be weaker. Our offense is still struggling to stay consistent. Our run game is not as good as it really needs to be in order to be much more competitive. And despite the fact that we have all 3 of our division rivals ahead of us, including Detroit, I don't see us making it past wild card. We can make it to the playoffs, but wild card, I don't see it happening. Next up, finally, Tennessee Titans, 9-7, only team from the AFC South. I don't see them beating Kansas City. Kansas City's defense is growing to be a much more powerful defense than originally thought. Now, if their offense can catch up with the defense and become just as good, then Kansas City definitely has a better chance at becoming a tougher team to beat. But I don't think it's going to really happen. Alright, so next up, divisional round. The Detroit Lions, I believe, will lose to the Seattle Seahawks, even though they'll be 11-5 and be the number 1 team in the NFC North. The reason I believe the Lions will not beat the Seahawks is because the Seahawks have a tendency to use their defense very harshly up against stronger offenses. When they underestimate their opponent, that's when the defense doesn't shine. But Detroit's offense is definitely something to always take into consideration because it's definitely showing themselves to be a tough team. Their defense, though, can definitely use improvement. If you have a defense like Seattle's that can shut down long-range passing, and you have an offense like Seattle's where you can go far or you can run with your quarterback or your runners as variably as you want to, Detroit's not going to have an answer to them. So there's that. Next up, the second best team in the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe will lose to Oakland, their divisional rival. And the reason for that is, like I said before, if Kansas City's offense can improve, then they may have a better chance in the playoffs. But Oakland's offense and defense is so powerful that I don't think Kansas City can get past it. Next, Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, will lose to the New England Patriots, even though they will be the number 1 team in the AFC North with an 11-5 record, because despite their strong offense, their secondary, their defense is something New England can definitely exploit, and with the defense that New England has, it will actually be a lot more troubling for the Steelers to get past it. So that's why I say they don't move past divisional. Finally, Washington Redskins. despite the 9-6-1 third best team in the NFC East record, beating an even stronger record team of Atlanta Falcons. I don't see them beating Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are too strong offensively. Their defense may not be there, but Dallas can definitely run over Washington's defense because they're more of a pass defense than they are a rush defense. And when you have Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, that's the way that they've been showing themselves this season. There's no stopping those two when it comes to running. And Washington definitely shows that they can't stop runs that well. So unless they improve on that, they're not going to make it past the divisional. Sorry about that. Conference matchups. I believe the Oakland Raiders will lose to the New England Patriots simply because the Patriots will be able to pick them apart. And they will be able to prevent the Oakland Raiders from coming back, which has been their signature move this entire season so far. They allow teams to, work themselves up, give themselves a good lead, and then when the team is showing their fatigue, that's when the Raiders open up and start thrashing on everybody. New England will not make that mistake. I know that for a fact. Even with Gronkowski out for the season, New England won't make that mistake up against Oakland. They're too smart. And despite Oakland's amazing offense, especially when it comes to coming back in games, and their amazing defense, it's not going to happen up against New England. That's what I can see. Then finally, the Seattle Seahawks with an 11-4-1 record, number one team in the NFC West, I believe will lose to the Dallas Cowboys simply because Dallas is just too strong. Now, Seattle's defense is super strong, and it can in fact hurt Dak, but their run game is something Seattle does not necessarily have a good answer for at the moment. And on top of that, despite Seattle's good offense, they'll probably have a tougher time getting down the field than Dallas will, which is why I believe Dallas will be able to beat the Seahawks, not by much, but they'll still be able to beat them. Finally, Super Bowl. It's been the same thing I've been predicting for weeks, now months already. Dallas Cowboys, New England Patriots. Patriots are too smart. Cowboys have strong offense, but their defense is not strong enough. And in the end, it should be a good close matchup, but the Patriots should be able to come out on top. I went 9-6 in my record for Week 13. I figured I was going to have a few games incorrect because of so many developments and so many things I really didn't take into consideration. So hopefully Week 14 I'm a little more accurate, but only time will tell. In the meantime, this is Fireknight 3, signing out.